Story 1. I think what helped me most wasn't one big thing, it was the little moments. A random smile from a stranger, the way the sun hit my face after days of darkness, the sound of someone saying, "I'm glad you're here." Healing wasn't linear. Some days I couldn't get out of bed, and others I found myself laughing and remembering what hope feels like. I didn't climb out. I crawled, slipped, and eventually stood. If you're still in it, please hold on. You matter more than you think, and better days have a way of finding you when you least expect them. Story 2. I walked on the beach. It was sunny and beautiful, peaceful. A part of me realized that I could cultivate that peace within myself. This made me aware that I was creating my own problems, so I decided to turn my life around. I focused on bettering myself, working on being more empathetic, understanding, and kind to others. I set goals and started exercising as well. I lost 100 pounds and gained my chosen family. Many toxic people and situations left my life, and although it was heartbreaking at the time, I understood that if those things hadn't happened, I would have been more vulnerable to falling back into that dark place in my mind. In summary, a walk on the beach changed me to my core. Story 3. I don't know if I have ever gotten out of my depression. I just add more to the mask and reinforce the facade. Story 4. After a challenging period in my life, I found a bit of motivation to spend time with my friends for the first real time in months. They greeted me with the same loving open arms as always. They did not treat me differently or act like I was a bad friend for being distant for a while. Their welcoming love made a significant impact on me that day. Story 5. Getting a dog forced me to get out, walk, and talk to people. Having something to care for truly helps, plus the endless love in return. Story 6. Lithium has been helping me with my bipolar depression since sertraline made me more impulsive and reckless. I have access to free healthcare as a United States veteran, so you just need to get your blood tested to ensure your levels are not harmful. Story 7. I was struggling with disability and feelings of worthlessness. I read a book on Adlerian psychology, which allowed me to redefine my sense of value in the world. This helped me overcome my struggles. Emerging from this period improved my sense of usefulness by my previous definition, which was an added bonus. Story 8. Better living through chemistry is my go-to phrase. Honestly, though, antidepressants helped me tremendously. Having a psychotic break and a major depressive episode together put me right on the edge. I maintained throughout that the thought of self-harm never entered my mind, and it truly didn't. I have my children to thank for that. However, the last year and a half would have probably been much worse if I had been facing life unmedicated and unsupervised. My therapist is my support and the best tough person I have ever met. Story 9. One thing that helps me during depressive episodes is washing dishes. Provides me with dopamine, and the water and scrubbing feel very grounding. Story 10. Stop saying, "It's too hard. I'm too depressed." Instead say, "I am determined and strong." Both are narratives, but one of them will serve you better. Story 11. Never be alone with your thoughts. Audiobooks, podcasts, television, and reading are helpful in keeping your mind engaged. Story 12. 2 things. Exercise and accepting that no one is to blame for how I feel except me. If someone yells and berates me, that is on them. If I feel angry, that is on me. Story 13. Just a random day, to be honest. It will be like a gradual transformation, and one day the butterfly will take flight. Story 14. It's the most frustrating advice, but the answer for me was exercising. When you're at your lowest, it's the last thing you want to do. However, if you can manage to go for a long walk, it will help greatly. Story 15. To be honest, it is never the same, and I never know what might help. Before, the weather helped a lot. Now it does not matter anymore. I struggle for months to break free, but I sink deeper. I just hope something happens, and I can free myself from this monster. Story 16. I perform better in sunny places. When I was really in the thick of it, having others encourage me to get out of the house and go for a walk was helpful. Studies show that walking for at least 20 minutes every day, especially in forested areas, can aid those with depression, and it helped me as well. I also tried to practice gratitude, even when it felt like the last thing I wanted to do. I never fully overcame my struggles because of these practices, but they definitely helped at the time. Additionally, having others show love and acceptance for where I was in my journey was beneficial. Story 17. I faked it. I couldn't get up, have a wash, or even have the motivation to open the curtains in my bedroom. One day, when I felt slightly stronger than before, I forced myself to go out and start living. I didn't want to. I wanted to stay at home, but I pretended to enjoy myself. I smiled at people and laughed at jokes, and after a few days of doing that, I realized I wasn't trying to pretend anymore. Story 18. Transcranial magnetic stimulation for 15 minutes a day over 30 consecutive days, except for weekends, clears my mood for up to 8 to 9 months, after which I start the process again. The aim is to stimulate nerves in the frontal cortex so that the brain's natural electrical impulses can interact. There are different forms of transcranial magnetic stimulation for post-traumatic stress disorder, where I understand it is also effective, but the principle remains the same. I have experienced major depression for at least 25 years, likely even longer, but I self-medicated excessively with alcohol for several years before that. This is the only treatment that has had a lasting positive impact on me. I am still on some antidepressant medications that have been effective after 15 years of trying various types, but I am reducing my intake and starting to feel more alert. Transcranial magnetic stimulation has diminished my feelings of incompetence, and the suicidal thoughts and overwhelming anxiety attacks are nearly gone. I was unable to overcome this on my own. The only contribution I made was a willingness to try whatever might help. Story 19. My depression was caused by external factors such as illness and death in the family, financial troubles, burnout, and children's issues. Choosing to take care of myself and prioritizing my needs has helped the most. The principle of putting on your own oxygen mask before assisting others applies universally. You cannot help others until you have taken care of yourself. Story 20. I basically said, get yourself together, and started walking and exercising. It did me a world of good in just a month, and I kept it up. Story 21. Alcohol must be eliminated. Engaging in exercise and spending time outdoors can raise endorphin levels, which needs to be monitored to avoid mania. Activities such as playing golf, listening to music, and spending time with my therapy dog are also beneficial. Story 22. Seroquel 100 milligrams. The downside is that it makes me gain weight and become pre-diabetic. However, this downside is manageable with some lifestyle changes, and at least I am not miserable anymore. Story 23. It almost seems ridiculous to say, but the sun came out. Having actual sunlight on my face made everything feel much less bleak. In London, it has seemed like we've had nothing but clouds since November, existing in a constant gray, mixed with work stress, an unfortunate love life, and generally feeling quite terrible about myself, just overwhelmed me. The sun coming out gave me hope of actually feeling happy again, and I'm on the right path now. Story 24. If you followed me on social media, you would see that it's been 3 years and nothing has helped. Story 25. Serious answer. I was partying with friends after my first marriage failed because she cheated on me. I traveled 1,500 miles to Fort Lauderdale for spring break and partied for about 4 months. I made new friends, and it helped me recover from a deep depression. This was many years ago, and the depression never returned. I have been pretty happy since. That was over 40 years ago. Granted, this goes against conventional wisdom, but it worked for me. Story 26. I was already a dedicated gym person. Since the gym was a part of my routine, I decided to include something new. I started taking long walks and hiking. I had anxiety, so the walks made a significant difference. I felt both relaxed and productive in nature. I attribute the change to nature, as the rest of my life was mainly computer-based and indoors. Being outdoors felt refreshing. Story 27. I recommend using a bike or skateboard to help you get outside, and you will realize just how powerful you are. Story 28. Trauma therapy. The right medication. Dialectical behavior therapy. Nature and yoga did not get me out of it, but they helped me to tolerate it. Things that did not help include cognitive behavioral therapy, group therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, emotional freedom techniques, transcranial magnetic stimulation, various medications, cannabis, discussing my week with therapists for 10 years, pretending everything was fine, and self-destructive behaviors. However, everyone is different. Story 29. I joined a running group and met some great like-minded people. One eventually became my best friend, and that was over 15 years ago. Story 30. Finally, after almost 8 years of suffering, I have found that the gym is what I needed. Healthy coping mechanisms are essential. Story 31. Silent support from my son, knowing he is there and loves me unconditionally. Messages from friends letting me know I crossed their mind. Inspirational quotes and stories from various sources. Gentle cuddles from my cats. Story 32. I had a significant scare that made me think more deeply about my future, along with reconnecting with my ex. Story 33. Getting on the treadmill is difficult at first, but I would prefer to exercise than rely on medication. Story 34. For me, it came down to time and therapy. The biggest help was eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I spent time with friends and built my circle. I went to the gym and ate well. I participated in music ensembles. I went through a very dark period but found my way to the other side. Story 35. Realizing that being angry about something preceded my depression, I began to assess what made me angry. This helped break the cycle at last. Story 36. I was seeing a scientist who strongly believed in mushrooms during the height of the pandemic. She recognized that I was depressed but worth being around. She got me on a regimen that consisted of microdosing and occasional high doses. She strongly believed that you can actually fake it until you make it with depression, meaning to trick your receptors into feeling good until it comes naturally, like jump-starting them. I have to say, I laughed so much during that period. Her job required her to travel a lot, and she moved away after the pandemic, so we couldn't make it a real thing. But I do have to thank her. It changed my life. Story 37. 1. Seeking medical help. Letting people close to you know has helped me realize that those around me are more understanding and supportive of my situation. When you see a clinical therapist, you must have an open mind. Try what they suggest. Some things may work while others may not, but give yourself a chance and attempt it without judgment. Like any profession, there are some excellent therapists and some who are not as effective. My first therapist questioned whether I needed to see them again after an hour of sharing my thoughts, including feelings of suicide. That was enough for me to seek a different therapist. Don't rule out therapy if you have a bad first experience. My therapist recommended a 13-week course in dialectical behavioral therapy, which I initially found difficult to accept. However, I have found it very helpful. Look into it. It has been worth it. When you attend therapy sessions, practice and apply what you discuss at home and in your everyday life. Many people attend sessions and then continue their week as usual. You should practice or try out the advice and techniques you have learned. Find something you enjoy, whether it be hobbies, activities, or interests. Make time in your day to do something that brings you joy. While it may not solve your problems, it is important to engage in activities that interest you. Physical exercise has been significant for me. It's often difficult to motivate myself to go outside, but after returning from a run, gym session, or long walk, I always feel good, and it positively impacts my mood. I was initially resistant to taking any medication for depression, but I did, and it turned out to be a good decision. Some medications may work better for certain individuals, but they can help lessen the intensity of depression. 10. My mindset is something I am actively working on. I am trying to view situations from a different perspective. Negativity can be a slippery slope. Try to see the glass as half full rather than half empty. Live in the present and avoid worrying about things beyond your control. I still have a long way to go, but this is what I have done so far, and it has been helpful. Acceptance was a significant hurdle to overcome. If you can manage that, you will give yourself a good chance of emerging not just okay, but as a stronger individual. Wishing you all the best. Story 38. The last time I felt down, I was really depressed for 2 or 3 days and didn't want to do anything except lay in bed with the TV on. I started by picking up a little around my bedroom to make it easier to walk around. From there, I moved on to vacuuming, then to the bathroom, laundry, dishes, and so on. By the time I was done, I felt much better just having a living space that was actually livable. Before, when I got depressed or anxious, I forced myself to go out of the house and do something like shopping, bowling, or even just driving around. However, that only really works well in the summer because doing that in the winter is not so enjoyable. Story 39. Grinding. I stopped trying to be comfortable all the time. I embraced challenges and difficulties. Life is painful and involves suffering, and when you confront that and tackle it, there is much light amid the storms you choose to walk through instead of lying down. Story 40. I got rid of the people I was dependent on to feel better. As soon as I stopped being friends with them, I improved significantly. I often felt depressed when I was around them. Story 41. This may not be the response people want to hear, but I became tired of feeling devastated all the time. I took active steps to improve my life. I forced myself to eat, sleep, get out of the house, journal, maintain old friendships, and create new ones. I also eliminated any negativity from my life. I stopped watching and reading the news, avoided celebrity gossip, ceased listening to sad, dark, or angry music, refrained from watching sad movies, as I am very sensitive, and even a sad movie can leave me feeling depressed for a week or two, and stopped using social media. It required a lot of effort. Additionally, I developed the habit of seeking help when I sensed myself slipping into a depressive episode. That was probably the most challenging aspect. However, the people who care for you will be there to check on your well-being. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.